So, hello and welcome to episode one, I guess. Um, for this episode, I kind of want to just delve into the deep end of things and talk about my biggest fear. Because honestly, as a starter, I don't really know what other topics to choose. So, let's just go with this. It's the first one that popped into my mind when I made episode zero, so why not? So, my biggest fear. My biggest fear is really that I'm afraid of people. Now, I'm not afraid of people in a sense where I'm afraid of, human interaction, because that's not really terrifying. That's not the pinnacle of horror itself. If I were to go outside and I would talk to my parents, or talk to, say, my neighbors, or talk to my friends, that wouldn't be horrifying. That would just be me talking, you know, just normal. But I'm afraid of things. How do I say this? Well, I guess saying that my biggest fear is that I'm afraid of people is kind of not right. Like it's half right, but also at the same time it's not like completely right. It's kind of wrong. So hold on. Let me rephrase it. I'm not afraid of people. I'm afraid of things that stem from people, I guess, is the best way to sort of word it. Um, it's not that I'm afraid of everything that stems off from people, but like just some things. I'm not afraid of all human interaction, but some of them, they're kind of, they are horrifying. Um, well, I'll give some examples. So say I'm afraid of judgment from other people. Um, Not that being judged is something that is horrifying to me. I mean, it is horrifying, but what's more horrifying is that, say, I'm meeting someone that I've never met before, or how I've meeting someone I have met before, an acquaintance, friend, family, whatever, and then I do something, and then they judge me for it, but it turns out that they judge me wrong, and they sort of but they've already made their judgment and they've already marked me as a person that is a certain way, when in fact that's not the way I am. I don't know why, but that is a big fear of mine, where someone would sort of mark me as a person I'm not. So yeah, that's also one of the reasons why first impressions I feel like really matter a lot. The only reason where a lot of the time I don't um really care that much sometimes is just that I don't know, I'm lazy, I guess. Oh yeah, laziness. But yeah, that's one thing, and I'm also afraid of letting people down. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like my family has a lot of expectations put on me. I mean, it's not like at the same time, it's not like they're pushing me. It's not like they're pressuring me heavily, but they also have this expectation of me being a smart kid, a talented kid, a gifted kid. It's just like it's not. They're not pressuring me, but just by them having that kind of expectation for me and sort of talking to other people and sort of uh, like bigging me up to other people and saying, hey, yeah, Vec is just like this, and talking to other people and just like, man, I don't know what to tell them, but I'm like, I'm not like that. I'm not like my worth is not that high. It's just, yeah, I don't know. Just that kind of thing terrifies me because then like, what happens when they see that I'm not like that? Well, what happens when it's revealed that I'm much, much shittier than they expected. Like, yeah. What else? I'm also afraid of like attention. Uh, Sometimes, well, not. I guess attention is great, right? When you're talking to someone and you have their attention, great, lovely. You're having an active conversation. Congratulations. Let me clap. But when there's too much attention put on you, when there's multiple people, maybe in the double digits, putting their attention on you, that is fucking terrifying. Like, nothing is more terrifying than having a shit ton of attention on you. That also kind of ties with the my fear with like having people judge me, because when you're like the center of attention, people are gonna judge you. If you make the slightest of mistakes, people are gonna judge you. But yeah, just stuff like that. That kind of terrifies me. So yeah, those are some of my biggest fears. Um, I guess in that sense, you could say that I'm kind of like a socially anxious person. I don't know if I, oh, I don't know if I have anxiety. I've never really checked it, but I feel like I'm anxious. I don't know if I have anxiety, but I am anxious in like social scenarios, especially ones involving strangers. People I've only recently met and stuff like that. Then I'm really anxious. Or if I'm speaking with an authoritative figure. Um, Biggest what's it call this? The biggest example is that when I'm talking to say a teacher or well like well yeah teachers. If I'm talking to a teacher or say I'm going to the teachers lounge, that's like my heart rate. Yeesh, that shit is going to peak. That it is going to go into the hundreds. Yeah, that type of stuff gives me a lot of anxiety. Um, I'm also generally speaking, kind of like an introvert. The reason I say kinda is that I'm not. I wouldn't say that I'm fully an introvert, but I'd say that I take more traits from introverts than extroverts because I prefer being inside and coped up in my room alone. But at the same time, if I don't go outside with my friends and hang out, or if I don't just hang out with my friends on call and VC or just chatting, I would feel shit. I went through that in COVID, for 2 straight years, for 2 years plus, I feel like, and it felt fucking miserable. You know, I mean, I had a group chat that I could rely on to talk to, but yeah, just not being able to go out physically and like meet new people, that was that was painful. Yeah, that's a COVID era, COVID era that's a whole another topic that I could speak about. It's it's a mess. It is an absolute. I was an absolute mess. I made a lot of revelations at that point in my life, I guess. But yeah, that's that. For my biggest fears, yeah, I don't feel like I don't feel like I have anything else to talk about. I have other fears that are not that are less anthropological, that are less people involving. Um, more material fears and more like you know mortal fears. You know, I'm afraid of heights. I mean, not really, but like at extreme heights. Like I kind of like I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I'm afraid of bugs. Afraid of insects. I feel like well, is it? I don't think that is. necessary fear, but more so just disgust. I don't know. Insects kind of freak me out. Like they're kind of disgusting and like they skitter and they're kind of like fast and I don't know how to feel about that. And it's just kind of like ew. That's my feelings on them. Um, I guess the ocean. The ocean. It's pretty terrifying. The ocean is pretty terrifying because I can't swim. Um, that's also another topic I could go into, I guess. But yeah, I can't swim. Um, so anytime I would get into a boat or something like that and go over deep ocean, I would feel intense fear because like what if the boat tilts and what if I go into the ocean and I would simply drown and I would die and nobody would be able to find my body. So yeah, that's that's it. When it comes to those kind of fears, I have some other stuff, but yeah, I feel like my main and the biggest fears that are way more common than any other fears that pop up in my life are those fears that are connected with like people and interacting with another human being. Like like really I don't know what caused to have this kind of fear, what caused to have that anxiety because it seems like everyone else in my life, be it my friends, like even my family, like almost everyone in my family, they're like outgoing. They are extroverts. They fucking go out there, they hang out, they have a laugh. Like they have no problems with this stuff. So I don't know why I'm like this. I feel like I could pinpoint a few reasons actually. Because when I was when I was a wee child, let's say when I was a wee child, a lot of the time I spent inside because my parents didn't really allow me to go outside for a long period of time, and they wouldn't allow me to go outside further than like a few meters from the house. Like I would be able to go from my house to a neighbor's house, and that's about it. I couldn't go anywhere beyond that. Like I couldn't go anywhere beyond that alone. So yeah, and a lot of the times I spent inside because of that. Like I did want to go outside, but I feel like a lot of like every time I went outside or every time I went to go outside, I went to try and go outside. Sorry, and play around with the neighbors and stuff. Like there's a lot of procedures that my parents would like make me go through. I mean, looking back at it now, I am kind of thankful because like I do know that they're they're just being protective. If they're being overprotective is I don't know if they're being overprotective, but I know that they're being protective and that they care a lot for me. That's in retrospect. But back then, I feel like that caused me to sort of spend my time inside a lot. Um, it also doesn't help that I had a sort of imaginative mind, so I could like spend my entire day inside, but I would be like having fun because I'd be imagining up different scenarios. I'd be imagining up different stories, different things going on. I would use my home and my furniture as geographical landscapes. Just stuff like that. And it was just having a lot of fun when I was a kid. And I had quite a bit of toys also. Uh, you know, stuff like Legos and some other minifigures. And I had also quite a bit of books, if I remember correctly. And I was really satisfied with those. Those really, those really gassed me up back then. I still do. I still do. Like I still love comics and books and stuff like that. I'm trying to get trying to worm my way into quote unquote higher forms of literature. I guess like I don't know how to put it. Like I'm trying to worm my way into more sophisticated forms of literature, like novels, light novels, stuff like that. You know, books where it's all just words and there's no pictures. Oh my god. But yeah, I'm trying to get my way into that. I mean, right now in my book, there's like three different novels, None of them I've read to the end. Some of them I've only read like one page of. I say some of them like I have a lot, but but yeah. The point being, I'm trying to get my way into that. I feel like I'm not having a successful time because I'm really fucking lazy, and it takes a lot for me to get invested in a story. And a lot of the time, I would read a little bit of the story, I would get bored, and then I would just drop it. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's why I kind of prefer comics a lot of the time. Because even if the story is absolutely mind-meltingly boring, I can look at the pretty pictures and go, ooh, colors, ooh, funny colors. I feel like we strayed a bit from the topic of. I feel like we strayed a bit from the topic of my biggest fears, but I guess, I guess that's just how these things sort of go. Just just talking about stuff and having rants. But yeah, I guess those some of those are the reasons why I stayed inside, and in turn, that is the reason why I sort of grown some of these fears because I don't know how to talk with other people. I guess another thing was that another big thing I feel like I should mention is that back when I was a wee child, my parents did not like me to use crass language or swear, but they kind of went about it in a kind of an extreme manner, where they would not let me say stuff uh, in sort of like slang. They wouldn't let me use kind of like slang and stuff because they were afraid that if I were to use slangs, that I would use curse words, stuff like that. But yeah, back when I was a child, up until fifth grade, actually, like up until fifth grade, so like 11, up until I was 11, no, maybe up until I was around up until 11, 12, I forgot my exact age. But up until then, I used very formal language. Um, yeah, just like I was the only kid. I was kid. I was the only kid there that was using like overly like formal language. It was looking back, I was a weird fucking kid. I was a really weird kid. Even because I live in like Southeast Asia, right? And a lot of the medias that I watched was uh, more Western, like Western cartoons and stuff like that. Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, Disney XD, whatever. But I also watched YouTube, which back then, where I live, it was it wasn't that big. Like I doubt a lot of people know it. Like yeah, I could ask people around, and they would probably either not know it, or they would like not watch it. Like they're not like a YouTube user, which is different to now. Like if you ask a random person in the street what's YouTube, then they could probably answer, and they probably have used YouTube. But back then, no one really used YouTube that much. So I was kind of the only one using YouTube. And because of that, when I first used YouTube, no, I don't actually remember because I was like what fucking 7, 8 when I first when I first got access to internet. Maybe a bit more, maybe a bit older, maybe 9. I don't know. But when I got access to internet and I got access to YouTube, I don't really remember seeing any Indonesian YouTubers. If there are, like, good, but I don't feel like I've ever come across them. So yeah, because my recommendeds were instantly filled with like English speaking YouTubers, if I remember correctly. And because of that, and the fact that I kind of stayed inside for the majority of my time, I like watched YouTube a lot. Back then, I didn't really know any other social media that existed, because I only used the apps that was installed in my phone or my like iPad, if I remember correctly. So I wasn't one to install new apps, so I just used what I had when I got it, and YouTube was on there, so I just figured, yeah, I should fucking use YouTube. So that's how I developed my YouTube addiction. Yeah, that's how I'm able to watch YouTube for like 12 hours a day now. But yeah, back then I didn't really have anything else to do, and I watched a lot of YouTube, and a lot and a lot and a lot and a lot of YouTube. That's also one of the reasons why I was able to learn English. It was because I watched a lot of YouTube from from the West, so I was able to pick up English from there. Yeah, because like no one else in my family actually speaks English, at least not to this degree, not to my level of being able to fluently speak it, being able to fluently understand what someone else is talking, when they're speaking in English. So yeah, just the internet fucking carried me. YouTube especially carried me in my English speaking and learning adventure. So yeah, and I guess that sort of like internet addiction sort of um, kind of worked. It kind of coincides with the fact that I am like a what you call it that I'm an introvert. Sorry, I don't know why, but I couldn't think up of the damn word. But yeah, I feel like that fact coincides with the fact that I'm an introvert and someone who's more willing to spend time with themselves because because of the fact that not a lot of people watched YouTube back then, and the fact that not a lot of people speak English like I do back then, I was kind of alienated. Like I didn't know anyone else that was able to speak English, and I didn't know anyone else that watched YouTube. And I wasn't really active online because the majority of the time I didn't even have an account. Like I wasn't registered, which is a shame because then like I couldn't go back and see like what was my first watch like video ever, and go through my like history and see all of the old nostalgic stuff that I actually used to watch back then. But yeah, like a lot of the time I didn't even have an account, and even when I did have an account, I wasn't very active. Like I was just a passive viewer and observer of the internet. I don't know why, but the idea of participating and actually talking on the internet, talking in YouTube and YouTube comments, that never really occurred to me. Yeah, like, I don't know why. And also, because of the fact that I never really discovered any other social media other than YouTube, like, at some point, I got to know other social media, but I never interacted with them. Like, even with something like Twitter, I only interacted with Twitter after COVID sort of dropped down. Like, in 2021, I interacted with Twitter because that was, like, about when COVID started to drop and we started going back to school normally. But I got fucking bored. So I decided, hey, let's just check out what this Twitter thing is all about. Like I checked that shit out in 2021. That is 2 years ago, counting from now, counting from the year I posted this, which is 2023. That's fucking 2 years ago. That is fairly recent, right? That like I came into the whole what you call it the whole social media game very late, like way later than everyone else in my generation. Like way later than any other Gen Z kid. Like it's way later. Yeah. Yeah, there's that. So yeah, that probably helped with me being someone that doesn't really talk a lot and that doesn't really that can't really connect with people. So I grew fearful of that. I guess I don't know. That's the whole gist of things. That's the whole gist of my fears and stuff, and some and a bit of some other stuff on the side. A bit of extra rants sprinkled here and there. So yeah, I feel like there are more things to talk about here, and I don't know. At the same time, I feel like I've also covered like most grounds. So yeah, we'll just stop it here. And next time I'll bring a new topic. Maybe another topic about me that's not something as heavy as my biggest fears. Maybe something a bit more lighter. Um, maybe the fact that Minecraft is my favorite game. Actually, actually, you know what? I'll I'll put that on my notes. I'll put that on my notes. Um, okay. I'll ignore that. Ignore that. I'll put that on my notes. Um, Minecraft is my favorite game, and I'll guess we'll talk about that in episode 2. But yeah, I feel like I actually have a lot to say on that because I genuinely love that game, and that game has been a huge game changer on me in a lot of ways. Like Minecraft is probably one of the biggest pillars of my life, so to say. So yeah, I guess that's it for this episode. Um, bye bye.